What's up, future founders? Today we're talking about B2B and B2C, and I'll try to break it down in plain English. Okay, how does this work? B2B and B2C. Look, one company spends $2 to land a customer, another one spends 50,000 for a single customer. And you know what? They're both right. How does that even work? Well, to get it, you need to understand one thing that people mix up their whole lives: the difference between B2B and B2C. Give me 5 minutes and you'll start spotting this difference literally everywhere. And no fancy jargon. Let's go. Okay, let's start simple. All those scary letters really just mean one thing: who you're selling to. That's it. B2C is business to consumer. A business sells to a regular person, to you. Your morning coffee, your Netflix subscription, sneakers, your phone, all B2C. B2B is business to business. Here, a business sells to another business: accounting software, bulk coffee deliveries to a chain of cafes, advertising for companies. Feel the difference? Let's use lemonade. You sell one cup to someone walking by on the street. That's B2C. You ship a ton of lemonade to a restaurant chain under contract. Now that's B2B, same lemonade, completely different business. And here's where it gets interesting, because the real difference isn't who you sell to at all, it's how the money works. Look, in B2C, you've got tons of customers, but each one pays a little. Millions of people grab a $5 coffee and they decide in a second, saw it, wanted it, bought it. In B2B, it's the opposite. Few customers, but each one pays huge money. And they don't decide in a second, they take weeks, sometimes months. A company will meet, compare, run the numbers, see, and only then sign a $50,000 contract. That's why our little lemonade stand and our bulk delivery are basically two different planets. One makes money on volume, the other on the size of the deal. And that's it, really. And out of this, by the way, grows the second difference: how these two actually sell and market themselves. And they do it in completely different ways. You'll see why in a sec. B2C sells to emotion, ads, pretty picture, impulse. You see a clip with new sneakers, you want them. Come on, nobody builds a spreadsheet to buy a cup of coffee. B2B sells to logic. There's zero impulse here. There are real salespeople, product demos, calculations, return on investment, because nobody ever buys $50,000 software just because the ad looked nice. Now go back to the start of the video for a second. Remember, $2 versus 50,000. So a B2C company happily spends pennies on a customer because it has millions of them. And a B2B company just as happily drops 50 grand on one because that one will bring back way more. And both are right. Their math is just different. Okay, but why should you care if you're not a marketer? Here's why. If you ever decide to start your own business, this is the very first decision that affects everything: B2B or B2C. It decides how many customers you chase, how you sell, and how much money you need to start. And you know what's funny? B2B is often more profitable per customer because companies are genuinely willing to pay for things that save them time and money. That's exactly why so many quiet, boring software companies make millions, and you've never even heard of them. But that's a topic for the next videos. How they make that much, we'll break it down by the numbers. All right, let's wrap it all into one line so it sticks. B2C sells to desire, B2B sells to logic. One makes money on quantity, the other on size. That basically is the whole difference. If this made things clear, hit subscribe. I explain stuff like this in plain language every week. And let's see if you got it. Drop the name of any company in the comments and I'll tell you whether it's B2B or B2C. All right, it was great having you here. See you next time. Now go turn boring into bank.